Let's visit the 90s all over again. Put on those hammer pants. This is Dope Nostalgia.
Today's episode is all about the top 10 movie soundtracks of the 90s chosen by the listeners. I held a poll for about 3 months and asked everybody to vote on their top 1, 2, or 3 picks for best movie soundtrack, and you guys came through. These are the results, and we're going to share them with our friends James P. White and Kendra Klassen Hunt.
Okay, are we getting started on album number 1, whatever that is?
Welcome. Kendra and Jimmy are here to do this wonderful podcast that we've been anticipating for a while because, it's been over a month since I put the poll out to for everyone of our listeners to have a vote. And the cool thing is, this is the very first episode where the listeners got to pick the answers. So they got to pick their favorite top 10 movie soundtracks of the 90s. And what a list it's become. Are you guys excited?
Good soundtracks. Yes.
I'm excited.
Yeah.
Good. Now,
I've got some favorites and some I hadn't even heard of.
originally the idea was I wasn't going to tell you the order, neither of you, but then I totally forgot.
Yes.
And send it to you with the order from 10 to 1, but that's okay.
I did used to work at a movie theater.
There's a good chance you've seen all of these.
There's a good chance.
I may not have, though.
Jimmy he was playing basketball on the road. He was the assistant youth pastor. These movies were all sinful.
But even at there's been some I haven't seen since then too. Like there's some that I didn't watch when they came out in theater, but I did have seen them.
That's true. Well, number 10 is honestly probably my absolute favorite movie of the 90s. So this one made me very excited. At number 10, Clueless.
Nice.
Yes.
This is such a good movie. I remember this one. I was in like junior high, I think, when this one came out for me, or just before junior high.
You would have been before junior high because I was in
Was it 96?
I was in grade 10.
Was it 96 that it came out?
Yeah, I was in grade 10.
Okay, then I would have been grade 6.
Yeah. See, you were younger than you thought.
Yeah. Well, I remember it so well for junior high though, because it was still so popular in junior high as well. I remember all my friends were just like, this is the best movie.
My bad. It came out in 95.
Oh, I was close.
So I was just going from grade 9 to grade 10.
I haven't seen it.
You haven't seen Clueless?
No.
Well, it's fantastic. The cast was incredible. Obviously Alicia Silverstone had already made a name for herself doing Aerosmith videos. So this movie was a big release for her.
You met her, didn't you?
I met her at an airport in the Chicago O'Hare Airport. Yeah. By accident.
I remember seeing a picture of that.
Yeah, she was on my plane. So I was flying from LAX to Chicago, and I thought I seen her at the gate, like at the seats there. She was sitting on the floor, opening all these food takeout containers and just kind of being, hippie-ish, sitting on the floor like that. And I was like, oh, she kind of looks like Alicia Silverstone. I am in LAX. I suppose it's a possibility, but she's waiting for the same plane I am. So this is like, okay, I'm not really sure if that's her. So when it was time for me to board my usual coach seat, everyone in first class is already seated. So I walked past and I looked at her and I heard her voice because she was on the phone talking to somebody. And I'm like, yep, Alicia Silverstone is on our plane. And then when we got to O'Hare, I'm like, okay, cool. Well, maybe we'll see her at baggage claim. And yeah, we did. She was with a gentleman who I was trying to non-conspicuously take her photo without her looking at me. And the guy looked at me and he laughed and he's like, come over here. And then I'm like, okay. And she's like, hi. And she's like, he's asked if I wanted a picture with her. And I'm like, yes, please. Yeah. So she was really nice.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I figured
That's
if we're going
hilarious.
to talk about it, I might as well tell the whole damn story.
You're right. That's awesome though. She seems like she'd be a cool person.
Yeah. She's very much though granola. Like she's very like, I don't know, like her and Alanis Morissette, I think they're both the type of moms who like breastfeed till the kid's like 10 and
I've
you know.
yeah, I've read some articles about like people being very not very nice to her actually online about her attachment parenting you know methods.
Yeah.
But you know,
I mean, to each their own. They're not,
right.
if you're not harming the child, then everybody
Well,
can fuck
especially
off
if
and
it's
mind their own
coming from
business.
love and you know the kid's got a good home and
Yeah.
you know.
These
But
people should be
then
more
those,
concerned with people or kids are getting beaten.
but then those same parents, their kids grow up to be drug dealers. Those the same parents that crap on her.
I get
End up to being horrible parents.
I worry about the attachment thing just so it's like, are they going to be able to make their own decisions?
Yeah, the dependency that can come from it, right? That's what I would worry about too, is if that kid becomes way too dependent so they don't learn to kind of do things on their own,
Mhm.
really late in life, and then you end up with a kid who's living with you at 45 years old who's not a kid anymore.
Okay, listen, I moved out at 26.
Good job, Jimmy.
26, 45. Okay.
But I moved out,
Little
moved
different.
back in, and so I was out for a time.
I'd move back in if I could. Except for
Well,
the
if you
part where
had
I
a
like
house
my
that you could
space.
stay and like have food made for you and laundry, makes it hard to leave.
It's been too far gone now. I wouldn't even know what it would be like to have somebody do shit for me. Honestly, it would be so crazy.
Oh yeah, me too.
But Clueless, the soundtrack, it was very well, hipster wasn't a thing in the 90s, but I felt like it was kind of like a alternative pop type of soundtrack with the songs that were in the list here.
I could
The
see
one
that.
the one I remember the most of the songs on here would probably be Kids in America, track number 1 by the Muffs.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I do know that one too.
The rest of them, oh, Rolling with My Homies too by Coolio.
Oh, Coolio, rest in peace.
Exactly.
But
Yeah.
of the songs on that soundtrack, the one that I like the most is Fake Plastic Trees.
That's mine too. I was gonna say that too. That's my favorite one. I love that song.
Good old Radiohead.
There are a couple of the albums that are coming up. I noticed that they have crossed a lot of the soundtrack list.
But also Beastie Boys, Mullet Head is good too.
Oh, I don't know that one. I find that some artists are on like every soundtrack.
But in the 80s, it was pretty much the same though. Like every soundtrack had what's his face? Kenny Loggins.
Oh yeah.
Every soundtrack had at least one of his songs.
It's what was big at the time.
Yeah.
And it's funny too, it's with the cast. I remember Rolling with the Homies because Ty in the movie, she's like kind of doing like this little dance with it. Ty, played by Brittany Murphy, rest in peace.
Another rest in peace, yeah.
Good old Paul Rudd, who looks exactly the same as he did in the movie.
He doesn't age, yeah.
That's the first time I'd ever seen Paul Rudd.
He just looks the same, just with a tiny little bit more wrinkles.
Yep, just a little bit.
Yeah, this one I didn't know as many songs off of this one.
No, me neither. Even though I own the soundtrack, I don't think I listened to it very much. But I just loved the movie so much that I had to have it. All right. So that is our number 10. Number 9, I honestly thought this one would be higher on the list because it's another legendary movie and a lot of huge hits came from this soundtrack. Number 9, Pretty Woman.
Yeah, that's a really great soundtrack. I was kind of surprised too that it was as low down as it is.
Have either of you seen the movie?
Of course I have.
Yes.
I have not.
You haven't seen it?
No.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
This is a judging book.
This is
I'm
going to be
not-
one of those things where you
I'm
guys are
not
going
a-
to start getting at me for what I haven't seen. I
No,
know.
no, but it's just I'm not a girl, but this is like a huge chick flick.
Oh yeah. I know all these songs almost. Well, no, that's an exaggeration.
Roxette's
No,
on it. That's a great
That's
band.
the one I know the best, and I think is one of the biggest songs off the album. Is It Must Have Been Love
Mm-hmm.
by Roxette. Huge. Of course, the song "Pretty Woman" by Roy Orbison.
Of
Yeah.
course, that's such a huge song. Like even without that movie, I think it was a pretty big song before it, right?
Another one I really like off this is "King of Wishful Thinking" by Go West. Do you guys remember that track?
Yes.
I don't know that one. No.
If you heard it, I'm sure you would. But it was a big hit. And I barely remember Natalie Cole's "Wild Women Do."
Well, I
Fame
know
90.
David Bowie's Fame. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, that's a fantastic tune. But yeah, it's I figured because of the popularity of the movie that it would have been higher on the list. That's okay though. I believe Bryan Adams there's a musical or something about Pretty Woman and Bryan Adams is involved in that.
Oh, really? I didn't even know that. That's
I have a
a
feeling
good idea,
he's-
though.
I have a feeling he's covered that song, "Pretty Woman."
Oh, highly likely. Okay.
That's all that's said about that one.
Okay. Now, number 8. I don't think this one's surprising. The Crow.
I love this movie. I just watched this movie again for the first time in years. It was a big one around my house. My older sister Danielle, shout out to Danielle. She loves this podcast.
Yay, Danielle. What?
This was one of her favorite movies.
Mhm.
I'm a huge fan of this movie, on the most part because this is where Brandon Lee passed away, was during the filming of this movie,
Mhm.
and I've been a fan of him and Bruce since I was a little kid.
Yeah.
But
It was such a shame what happened to him.
then the scary thing is this was so long ago, and yet it happened again.
Yeah.
The very similar thing happened again, and
Yeah.
that was that
With Alec Baldwin. Yeah.
Baldwin movie.
Oh, I know. I felt really bad for him too.
It was pretty much the same thing.
Well, that's the thing is like, not to get all deep on and everything, but it's not his fault. Like, it's not his fault. But if I were him, I just feel so guilty because I still was the one who pulled the trigger, even though you didn't know. Like, it's
Right.
just so fucking sad. But
Well,
anyway,
Yeah.
it could be very different in this situation. With all the years that have passed since Brandon Lee was murdered this way, yeah, I guess it would be the word. Was it
Killed.
accidental, or do you think it was on purpose?
No, 100% it was an accident because the person that shot him was
But the question is how did the real bullets get in there? Because that's the thing, they were real bullets and they were should have been fake.
No, that's not necessarily true, because what ends up happening is they always pre-fire the bullets, so they keep the shells, and then they put the blanks in them. But sometimes the guns that they use, at least this is how I understand it, I could be a little off, but the guns, they don't check the barrel, so it could be a blank, but if there's something in the barrel, the explosion of the gunpowder will push that out.
So it wasn't an actual like proper bullet that hit him?
That's what they said. So a family sued and won, but it shouldn't have happened, but it wasn't done maliciously. It wasn't done it wasn't a conspiracy or anything like that. At least as far as I know.
You'd think what like nowadays with the special effects that they can do, that they would just like axe that whole sort of scenario out and put like the special effects in for the bullets and the sound afterwards.
But the the whole purpose of having the blanks in there is to have the actual kickback. Like, so when someone's shooting it jolts, because faking a kickback doesn't look as realistic as that. Like, they fake the shot, like with the squibs and all that kind of stuff with the pockets under the, but it's the emotion of the kickback that they
I
try
get that.
to duplicate.
But when people have been killed or shot by this, I feel like there could be better ways.
But this is a horrible way of saying it, but with the number of movies that they do this and the number of people that have been killed by it, it's a very, like, it's huge low percent. And like, I might be going to hell for saying it, but it's the, like, you have the same what's the word? You have this same chance of dying crossing the street looking both ways than this to happen.
I see your point.
I think you're more likely to get hit by the car.
Or drinking a beer and falling, and like accidents do happen.
I have to tell you, I've drank a beer and fallen before.
But not
several times.
But not with the beer in your mouth.
Ooh, that would suck.
That would kill you.
Ooh, if it was glass.
What a morbid conversation.
What are we doing?
but you know what I'm saying? Like the statistics of saying that would happen is quite low. But there was some negligence on their behalf on not making sure, doing all the checks they're supposed to.
I would just think that would be kind of something that they should do, especially for the fact that this is an object that very much could kill somebody. I would think that you would do all of the checks 3 times just to make sure that it doesn't, in fact, kill somebody.
1000%.
Okay, let's get back to the soundtrack, though.
These songs. Okay, I have seen The Crow. Oh, mind you, it was once, so I don't even really remember it.
I've seen it several times, and actually once this weekend.
The only song I know on this soundtrack is Big Empty by Stone Temple Pilots, but that's because I knew that song from the Purple album.
You haven't heard Burn by The Cure or even Dead Souls?
Nope.
9 Inch Nails?
Nope.
I've actually worked out to Dead Souls.
Have you? Okay, will you do a TikTok video to it for us?
You can be the promo.
I'll try and do it. I'll try and do it this week.
Good, and then we can share it on our socials.
Either a Wasted Wednesday or a Thirsty Thursday. Because my first introduction to 9 Inch Nails was this soundtrack.
Mm-hmm.
And at the time, I wasn't a fan, but as I grew older and got into the rock music or rock music world, because I'm in radio, I became a huge fan.
Yeah.
And also Darkness by Rage is on this too.
Ooh.
Yeah, there's some big bands on this one, like The Cure, 9 Inch Nails, the Rage Against the Machine.
Where a lot of them, that was their introduction to the rock world.
A lot of them are huge in the rock world.
Oh yeah, Pantera's on there too, and Violet Femmes.
I do like a 9 Inch Nails song called "The Perfect Drug." That is an amazing song, but I don't remember what movie. I think it was another movie. I'll search it.
Yeah, I think you might be right. I can't think of it either, but it's a good song. I heard a lot of their stuff. Like I said, my sister listened to a lot of this stuff growing up.
The Perfect Drug is from the movie soundtrack to Lost Highway in '97.
One of my favorite 9 Inch Nails tunes I actually stripped to is Closer.
Yeah, it's a good one. They're the originals to do Hurt, that most people know it by Johnny Cash now, but they were the original.
Do you know how many people don't know that? It's a lot of amazing.
But the thing is, though, is the band themselves said Johnny did it better.
They said it's his now. Yeah. Yeah.
Because
I like their
the
version
band
better.
actually like conceded and went, no, yeah, we love the song, but he did it.
There's a sentiment in the way that he does it, that you can tell that there is hurt in the way that he's singing it. So I can totally understand why people resonate with it and why the band liked it so much. I do really like their version too. I actually knew that one before Johnny Cash, but like,
Yeah.
you know, it definitely has a different vibe. But I
But
think
if
They're
both
both about pain, but they seem like a different type of pain,
yeah,
depending
totally.
on which artist did it.
Yeah.
But the thing is though, is if you go to karaoke or you go to a DJ and you order Hurt, they're automatic. Sorry, you ask for the song Hurt.
I'm gonna call up your radio
I'm
station
gonna
and
order some
songs.
Hurt.
Yes.
What level of pain can you handle?
You want extra size Hurt?
But if you ask that for that song, a lot of people, a lot of like DJs or karaoke automatically think Johnny.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like mainstream, that's like the more well-known version for sure. I should have fucked with people when I was hosting karaoke and put up like 9 Inch Nails every time.
I don't think there's a karaoke version of it except the acoustic one. So it's really not that different.
So it's not that different. Yeah.
Trust me, I've looked for it. I don't think we're there yet, but we'll get on it. Man, okay. So The Crow, big soundtrack. All right. Number 7 in our list. Titanic. Music from the motion picture. The whole album made by James Horner, composed.
Isn't it mostly instrumental, like orchestra, except for My Heart Will Go On?
It's all orchestrated except for, so because this is a album. I think the only people that know the album know it because of Celine Dion and My Heart Will Go On. Okay, if you think of the music of Titanic, that's all you hear. That's all you feel is that song.
But it's actually not even, the Celine Dion version isn't even on the official soundtrack. It's not. It's all the orchestration composed by James Horner music.
And it was a big sell. Like it was one of the best selling in the US.
Her singing on it. The second last song, I thought it was her singing on it.
It says My Heart Will Go On, the studio sound ensemble. So it doesn't have her name on that. There are technically two soundtracks to Titanic because they released a second one later on with more of the music from the movie. But I believe My Heart Will Go On was released as a single with Celine Dion separately from the soundtrack. But man, it's beautiful music. It's nice to listen to, like classical music while you're doing stuff. And it's cool because like, really nice. I feel like the main hook from My Heart Will Go On is a theme throughout many of the songs on this album. It's used again.
Yeah. Yeah. It's beautifully done. I actually really enjoyed listening to it. And it was a big hit. Like I said, I was reading up and it said that it was one of the best soundtracks of all time in the States. For the 90s particularly, but I remember actually for Celine Dion's song, I think I heard somewhere once that she was saying that she did that song in one take.
Wow.
Yeah, and the thing is, she didn't even really like it, but they liked it so much they were like, no, we're using it.
She didn't like the take or the song?
She didn't really like the song that much or the take, but they were like, yeah, we have this song, and she wasn't like, because she's one of those people, she doesn't write her own music, but she also is very adamant about feeling the music. So she has to have a connection to it to do it. And she didn't feel, I think, that she connected that one very well off the bat. And they're like, well, can you just try it and see how it goes? And she sang it in one take and she was kind of meh. And they were like, no, we love it. We're using it.
That song, hearing it, has the most feeling of almost any song you could hear from a movie soundtrack. Has the most feeling to it in my mind, because of it's, you can
hear the passion, whether or not it's fake, but or she didn't feel it, but we felt it.
Well, I think like, for Celine Dion, she is somebody who is very emotional when she sings anyways, regardless of like whether or not she feels a connection. So I think just dynamically and how she like sings any song, she's gonna find a way to, bring that emotion to it. And I think that's the reason why they ended up using it. But I thought that was kind of funny that she was like, I didn't even like that, like it that much.
But
Go ahead.
but artists like I'm not comparing like local artists, but there's a lot of artists that I've met over my singers, like you, Naomi, or even you, Kendra, that sometimes you've done something and you don't feel it was as good as everybody around you felt.
Oh yeah.
Like it's as an artist of most are their biggest haters. Some of their
Very self-critical.
Oh yeah.
yes.
True. When I think of this soundtrack, when another soundtrack comes to mind that has similarities to me, that's the Robin Hood Prince of Thieves soundtrack, because it's composed by Michael Kamen. It's all pretty much classical straight throughout, and the one constant is the melody from Everything I Do It For You in certain parts of it.
In
Just
the
like My Heart Will Go On in this one.
The romantic parts in it.
Yeah.
Like there's it's not in every part. It's in the romantic. It's in the the emotional, the relationship type parts.
Yeah. But it's that melody does carry throughout. And it's another, but I think that the Bryan Adams song is actually on that soundtrack.
I'm pretty sure it is.
Yeah.
I remember them even doing like a music video with like clips from the scene, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
There was an official music, but there was an official music video for this too. For if I remember correctly, there was an official music video.
There was.
With Celine Dion.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Jack. And they're on the end of the boat and they're holding out their arms.
Get on the door, Jack.
I still think.
Wait, there's no room for you on this door, Jack.
I still think there was enough damn room.
Everybody agrees there's enough damn room on the fucking door. Bullshit.
Just didn't want them that damn close.
But this is where you snuggle up and try and stay warm. I don't get that. Nope.
Hypothermia, man. It's a problem.
It's a real problem.
It's real.
Hypothermia. That'll kill you.
It could. Dude.
Hey, we're all from Canada. It could happen.
The Canadians. No. They were coming to Canada. Ish.
No, they were
near Canada. No wonder they were cold.
Where they broke down, where it broke down was not far from Newfoundland.
Very close to Newfoundland. But I think they were headed to New York, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yes.
I mean, why would anybody not go to New York? Why? The whole world revolves there. So yes, they weren't coming to Newfoundland. They weren't coming for Jig's dinner. They were going to New York. Okay.
So where are we at now?
We are at number 6, Pulp Fiction. I thought this one would be number 1, or at least
this is a good one.
The thing is, though, is it's a great soundtrack. There's a lot of great songs on the soundtrack.
Mm-hmm.
But when you look at a movie like Pulp Fiction, you don't think of the soundtrack.
I don't know about that. There's a lot of music in that's very
but there's a lot of music that's in it, but like when you're watching a Quentin Tarantino movie, you're not focused on the music.
I don't agree with that.
I don't agree with that at all. He is so big on like his choices for music. Like if you ever watch any of his movies, I think he's very focused on having the right particular music for it. You look at Kill Bill,
but it does have great music. I'm not saying it's crap music.
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying that when you're watching a scene like with them blowing people away, you're not thinking of the music going in the background.
I guess it's just different for everybody.
You're hearing it maybe on the second or third watch.
Not necessarily. Well, I see what you're saying, like for some things, but for Quentin Tarantino, I think he's very intentional about some of the song choices he has for his movies. Like particularly, like if you look at Reservoir Dogs, the scene where Michael Madsen is cutting that guy's ear off, and what's that? The song
Stuck
just
in
flew
the
out of
middle.
Stuck in the middle, yeah. And it's such an odd choice for like such a gruesome scene, but I think it's like depicting totally how he didn't care that he was like causing all this pain to this guy, right? And it was just what's the word I'm looking for? Like the opposite of the fact that it was such a gruesome scene, and having such a lighthearted song playing behind it was very intentional. And I think with Quentin Tarantino, he's like that with a lot of his movies, but but it's different for some people. Maybe like some people don't listen. I 100% listen to soundtracks when I'm watching movies.
Like with a lot of movies, I'm that way. Like when I hear a song in a soundtrack, I feel this scene, but I didn't feel the same with this soundtrack in this movie.
That's fair. Maybe it wasn't this one in particular that resonated for you, but I'd say with Reservoir Dogs, and there's a scene in his movie From Dusk Till Dawn where Salma Hayek is dancing and Quentin's drinking from her toe.
I remember.
What is the song she's dancing to? Because you kind of relate that together too.
Yeah, I haven't seen that one for a long time, so I don't remember exactly that one.
I had to watch that for Midget at the movies, but
but like good one. I like that one.
One of the ones from this soundtrack for Pulp Fiction, like "Girl, You'll Be a Woman Soon," is one that like really sticks out of my brain for this one.
Yeah, me too. It's the big one for me on here. Urge Overkill.
I also like the fact that they had some of the dialogue, like of some of like the very like pointed scenes that a lot of people remember, like the Royale with cheese.
Yeah, that I get, but it's just when I look at a soundtrack, I look at a soundtrack for music, not movie clips.
Ooh, Jack Rabbit Slim's Twist Contest. Isn't that the say I don't know the words. No, you know what I'm talking about? Where she's like doing that twist dance.
The twist dance that they do. Yeah.
Do. That song?
Yeah.
I think that's the one. But when I hear that song, I do think of that dance scene.
Oh, absolutely. Like once again, it's such a classic. At the Grammys this year, they were bringing, or was it the Grammys or the Oscars? I can't remember. They brought them out. Yeah, it was the Oscars. They brought them out, and they actually were recreating that scene on stage because it had been like, I can't remember how many years, but it was like an anniversary for it.
94, so it's 18 years old. Is that right?
Yeah, I think so.
No, it's 28 years old.
Oh, yeah. It was some sort of anniversary, or it had hit some sort of milestone, and so like Uma Thurman and John Travolta came out with Samuel L. Jackson, and they were kind of recreating some of the scenes from it. It was kind of cool.
Nice. I think the best song on the soundtrack is "Flowers on the Wall" by the Statler Brothers.
Oh, that's such a classic.
Good
Well,
song.
I agree. That's a great song.
That's a freaking classic.
But I know a lot of the songs on there, but when I think of those songs, I don't think of the movie. Some of them.
That's okay.
I think
that's how it plays out for you.
But I think like with a soundtrack, when you hear a song and it makes you think of the movie, that means it was a strong part of the soundtrack. Like an example, it's not of this era, but when I think of Mighty Wings, I think of Top Gun. This soundtrack doesn't do that for me. Just my opinion.
That's exactly what we want. Your opinion.
After these messages, we'll be right back.
Dope Nostalgia listeners, I love you and I thank you so much for being a part of this show and its success over the last 2 years. We have what's called Patreon for those who want to support the show financially. For as little as $1 a month, you can become a subscriber and get bonus content, early podcast release, all kinds of cool behind-the-scenes stuff, and more. There's different tiers of membership starting at only $1 a month. And we even have some special merch for you guys who are in it for the long run. So please join our Patreon. It's at www.patreon.com/dope nostalgia.
Hello, this is erotica romance author, podcaster, sex blogger, Ruin Willow. Oh, yeah. With Ruin Willow Podcast. And on my podcast, I talk about all things related to sex, sexuality, sexual health, erotica. I want to help you enjoy your life and have better sex using the tools of erotica, erotic audio, and interviews talking with sexuality experts in the field of sexual health, sexuality, and sexual wellness. Come listen to my podcast. I have a wide range of topics and fiction, erotica, storytelling.
You got a long, hot summer, you got nothing to do. I tell you, slip and slide is a way to get through. You get wet on slip and slide. You get cool, it's a long, wet ride. And you're hot on a slip and slide. Slip, slip and slide. First you stride, then you glide, then you slide, 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 and get wet. Slip, slip and slide. The original Slip and Slide, and now the new Slip and Splash from Whammo.
All right, number 5. Here we are halfway through the list with Romeo and Juliet soundtrack. Wow. Wow. I didn't think this was that popular.
You know, I do remember some of it.
I remember
Like-
some of the songs, absolutely, but I didn't know
That it was that popular. Well, I remember it being pretty big when I was like, you know, I think this was 96. So once again, I think I was in grade 6. It was pretty popular with like the kids that I went to school with. And I remember watching it, which it's funny to think of now. I was in grade 6 and watching this movie, but yeah, like there are certain ones that I definitely remember like very much being like in the forefront of like remembering this movie and those songs being attached to it, like Kissing You by Desiree was a big one. And because that's the scene where you know, see them with like the fish aquarium and that, and then Love Fool is another one I remember that was a big one.
The Cardigans.
Yes.
I was
My
a little
favorite-
bit older than you back then when this movie came out.
Just a little bit.
Just a couple of years. And what year was this? It came out in 95 or 6.
96.
96. I was already kicked out of university at this point.
I hadn't even entered junior high yet. I was in grade 6.
And I
That's in
got
high
kicked out
school.
of. Actually, it was the beginning of 96. I got kicked out of the university.
What did you
GPA.
do?
It's that low GPA.
Oh,
It
See,
consists
you
of
had the
making two
opportunity
semesters.
to make up this really cool badass story, and
I can't do that because my stories sound no. I can't lie. That's one thing. As Naomi knows, if I'm covering something up or if I'm hiding something, my friends know. My family knows.
you can't tell a lie. I know, Jimmy.
No, I can't, because then I look down and away and I make shit up that makes no sense. And
I appreciate that about you. You are lie free. Honest Jimmy. Honest Jim.
Honest Jim.
My favorite song, Number One Crush by Garbage.
So
Huge.
good.
So good.
We missed them in concert this year.
We missed them. Yeah, we did. We got there late.
But you know what? They didn't even do the song from what I heard from everybody. So it would have been
Are
a
you
disappointment.
serious? How do you not do that song?
I know.
No, I'm just
Hey.
glad we missed them.
The only song on that soundtrack I actually know is "Local God" by Everclear.
Really? I don't know that one. Cool. Ooh, also, quick point to make. The song Quindon Tarver, Everybody's Free to Feel Good.
Oh yeah.
So that song was originally done by Rosala, who's been a 2-time guest on Dope Nostalgia.
Oh yes.
Oh,
So awesome.
Everybody's Free to Feel Good. This is kind of like a choir version. It sounds like an
Is
old
that
church choir.
brother and sister? Da, da, da.
Together we'll make it. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, because there's that kid that's kind of a reoccurring like theme in the movie where he's singing things. So he even does When Doves Cry in it too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I remember.
We'll get another Radiohead track here too. Talk show
but
host.
my favorite band name on the album is actually Butthole Surfers. I don't know why that's.
I like their song Pepper. It's the only song of theirs I've ever heard. All right. So that's Romeo and Juliet at number 5. Coming in at number 4, epic. The Bodyguard.
Epic one. Yeah.
The Bodyguard. Like,
The Bodyguard.
holy moly.
It's a classic. It's
The,
huge.
the thing, but the thing about The Bodyguard is almost every, like, I'd say, looking at the numbers, half the songs were done by Whitney Houston, and
True.
all of those songs are huge. Like, not as big as "I Will Always Love You," but there's songs that people play and everybody knows.
Every Whitney song on here was almost pretty much a single.
Yeah. I will always love you. I have nothing. I'm every woman. Run to you.
And then
By the numbers, this was like one of the biggest selling soundtracks of that year, if not the biggest of 92.
Oh yeah, it is. I actually, funny enough, I saw a TikTok the other day that was actually about Alanis Morissette. They were talking about her and Jagged Little Pill and how it is. So it's number 2 for one of the best-selling albums, like for a solo female artist of all time. And she got beat out by the Bodyguard soundtrack. And as a solo female, even though it doesn't necessarily count because it is soundtrack, but like by sales it does. But two of the other ones that were one of like the top selling female artists of all time are also Canadian: Shania Twain and Celine Dion. Go Canada!
Go Canada! Go Canada! Proud of you.
Canada.
But yeah, it's one of the best selling albums of all time. Like, so I was not surprised that it was up there. I'm actually a little surprised it's not higher, but like, there's so many different types of listeners on that listen to your podcast.
So I have a question for you guys. Dolly Parton, "I Will Always Love You," or Whitney Houston?
Ooh, Whitney for me.
It's Whitney for me, mainly because I learned Whitney's first, and I learned Dolly second. But Dolly's amazing. I love Dolly Parton.
The love is there for Dolly. The love is there.
But Dolly wrote it.
Yes.
Yes.
So the love is there for her. We love Dolly.
But it's one of those things that, like, once again, it's a cover, but a lot of people know it as a Whitney song, not a Dolly song first. As we were talking, like,
I love
about
Whitney's
her.
interpretation of it, basically.
Yeah, I love it too.
Yes.
It's beautiful. That's like another one that's also a very well-known like song, but is technically a cover, is "Me and Bob and McGee" by Janis Joplin, was actually Chris Christopherson's song first. But everybody knows that as Janis.
But I'm a huge fan of Dolly, but I actually agree that Whitney did something to it. And like, yeah. But it might have also been because of the soundtrack of the movie and where it was put in and stuff as well.
Did you know actually about like that "I Will Always Love You"? Did you know that Kevin Costner had suggested that? for this album. Let she do a cover of that song.
Oh, I didn't know.
Yeah,
that.
I was reading up on it because she was gonna do a different song that was out there that like was gonna be done for a different soundtrack by somebody else. And so they decided they didn't want her to do that song. Instead, they wanted to find something else to not compete with that soundtrack. And Kevin Costner was like, why don't you do your own version of I Will Always Love You? I was like, wow. He made a very, very good suggestion.
Huge hit.
Yeah.
A few things I've noticed too from this soundtrack. One of our guests from the show, Curtis Stigers, did a song on here. Peace, Love, and Understanding, the cover. That's another one cover. The Whitney song, I'm Every Woman. You know that one too, right?
Mm-hmm.
So in the music video for it, I don't think it's Bodyguard related. I think because she might have released I'm Every Woman on her own album as well, if I remember correctly. I'm Your Baby Tonight, that album. But
Oh, okay.
I think I could be wrong. But in the music video, Shaka Khan's in it as well as TLC.
Oh, nice.
Super sweet.
Oh,
That's awesome.
that's cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah. Yeah. Kelly Clarkson recently just released an album called Kellyoke.
Oh, yes. Yes.
So she handpicked like 10 songs that she loves, or maybe it's 5. I don't remember how many songs are on Kellyoke, but she handpicked a few that she's done on the show that she wanted to do. And Queen of the Night is one of them.
Oh, wow.
But that is such a cool song. I really actually am a fan.
That's my favorite song on the album is Queen of the Night. Because it's got that hard edge to it. Like she wants to kick your ass with her voice, and it's got guitars, and it's just like it's like
Got a little more
it's
edge,
like Janet
yeah.
Jackson Black Cat or something, you know. It's like it just wants to smack you with fucking sound, and I love it.
But I Have Nothing is also a great song.
Oh yeah.
I love that one.
I love trying to sing that one.
Oh, me too.
and then the key changes, it modulates, and you're like, oh shit, I can't do this. Yeah.
But in the movie, if I'm not mistaken, she was singing that during the Academy Awards scene in the movie where she went all kind of psycho because she thought people were looking at her, like where she got paranoid because of like dealing with the movie, because Kevin Costner's characters, look around, and she was kind of getting all kind of twitchy.
Yeah. No, it's true. That when she actually sang I Will Always Love You, Whitney did she opened the Oscars that year singing it, and the a cappella part at the beginning of I Will Always Love You, her voice cracks hard.
Oh no.
And I was like, yes, she's a human. She's human. This happens to everybody, like I was kind of like, you feel bad for her because she's probably very embarrassed about it, but I'm like, everyone's gonna forgive her. It's Whitney.
Yeah.
But it shows humanity in a person when they make a mistake or their voice does things that they have no control over.
Exactly. It does happen to every singer. You just hope that it doesn't happen at the Oscars when you're opening them.
Yeah, of all times, right?
But if it's going to be at a place that you're at your highest stress.
That's true too. She could have felt really tense about it, right?
Yeah.
She probably got just as nervous as anyone. And the last thing I was going to say about this album too is our good old Canadian Sass Jordan does a song with Joe Cocker on this.
Oh, I
soundtrack.
saw that on here. Yeah.
Trust in Me, which is super awesome because Sass is one of my vocal
idols. That's a really good song.
It is. It gets overlooked, but it's so damn good.
Yeah, it is a really good song.
Good old Sass. So I'm glad that Sass got the chance to get some publicity by being on here. But yeah, you'd think more people would know about Sass and Curtis Stigers because they were on this one. But we're in the top 3.
Top 3.
Yeah, this is pretty sweet.
This is a good one.
Excellent. This is Wayne's World. It's
Excellent.
party time. Excellent. It's Wayne's World. child. Yeah. I love this soundtrack.
I don't
Oh,
think
man.
there's a song in this soundtrack I don't like.
Yeah, there's just so many good songs. And of course, you cannot forget like the big one that everybody knows and loves, Bohemian Rhapsody.
This
I think-
soundtrack brought Queen back to the forefront so that a new
It
generation
broke
learned
this
about
song,
Queen.
even it broke this song even way after they released it. Because that's what a lot of this album did, is some of these songs were released so much earlier.
Yeah, that's true.
Bohemian Rhapsody, didn't Bohemian Rhapsody come out in the 70s originally?
I think it was the 80s. I'm pretty sure it was the 80s because I thought it was
the year
later
was
on.
1679. It came out in
75.
1975.
Okay, I lied. But I was born in the 80s. It's a little foggy back then.
But there's songs I didn't remember on the soundtrack, like Bullet Boys Brought Candy, Cinderella, Hot and Bothered. I didn't remember those.
Time Machine Sabbath.
Yeah.
I remember Foxy Lady. Foxy.
But again,
Because
it
I
brought
associate
back-
it with a scene.
Yes.
but it brought back some older songs, like even Feed My Frankenstein.
Mhm.
And then when did that song originally come up?
Ooh, that could have been 70s as well. In fact, well, maybe he wrote it for this soundtrack.
It was 92.
So it was for the soundtrack.
I thought it was before that.
No. Do you want me to cut that part out?
No, it doesn't matter.
Fake news.
Fake news.
No, but the thing is we're all human. We make mistakes.
We do make mistakes. We do.
I thought it was interesting that Tia Carrere actually sang a couple of songs on the soundtrack.
The big one was Ballroom Blitz, because
Yes.
that's the first time I heard Ballroom Blitz was on the soundtrack
Oh, really?
before the sweet version. Yep. Yeah. And I love her voice. I thought she did awesome. This movie introduced her and her voice to the world. And she had a pretty successful career after Wayne's World, didn't she? Didn't she have?
I think she did pretty good. Yeah.
She had her own syndicated series of some kind. I can't remember what network it was on. I figured Jimmy might know that one.
No, I know she was on a movie with Brandon Lee and Dolph Lundgren.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was Showdown in Little China. She actually
cool.
was in that movie.
Okay, sweet. Yeah, no, I believe she's had a really, really good acting career since. I'm just clicked on her name to see if I could see some of her credits.
But one
That
thing
movie,
about
Relic
this,
Hunter. She was on
that
Relic
was a
Hunter.
TV series.
Yeah,
She was the main character in the series.
that's what I mean. Like that was a series for her. She was in the movie True Lies.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that. That's a good movie.
Mhm. She was on Blue Bloods once. I mean,
shout out to Donnie Wahlberg.
shout out to Donnie, Blue Bloods. We love you, Donnie. Yeah, CSI Miami. She's really had a lot of roles. Even if they were just anyways, yeah, she's had a lot of roles.
But the thing is, though, with this song, is anyone who hears Bohemian Rhapsody thinks of the scene in the car. Anyone who's seen the movie and heard the song think of the scene in the car.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's
Go to karaoke and somebody sings that song, guaranteed when it hits that like rockin' part, you'll have every drunken person in
Everybody
that bar head banging along
just going, doing their thing. Like,
and drunkenly trying to say all the words in that bridge part that most people probably don't know what the actual words are, but they sing along anyway.
But even when we're playing this song on the radio, which I do this song comes up at least once or twice a week,
Mhm.
you're like doing your best not to do that, even when you're sober.
We're too old now. It hurts.
How did you hurt your neck? You tell your doctor. Well, Bohemian Rhapsody came on.
Bohemian
This is a
Rhapsody.
Bohemian
Oh.
Rhapsody injury. Oh, we see those all the time.
Oh yeah, we had 3 yesterday.
Bohemian Rhapsody-itis.
It was a tough time. 92, lots of neck injuries.
A lot of whiplash.
Let's see if we can fit one more in this 8 minutes frame here. We have number two in our countdown. I am not surprised. Dazed and Confused. Seriously,
it's like so many good songs on this one.
total soundtrack to the 70s.
Oh, absolutely.
It fit the time frame perfectly. Well curated, good choices. And yeah, this is one of those ones too where you think of certain instances in the movie that relate to certain songs. You know, did you guys both see the movie?
I actually
Yeah.
haven't seen this one.
I've
Yes.
seen this one,
I know the soundtrack, but I haven't seen it.
but school's out.
They play Schools Out for
Push.
Summer before the what's it called again when you initiate kids? Froshing. Before the
Oh,
froshing. I almost called it moshing. Yeah.
Or yeah,
Mhm.
but like
Uh,
there's just so many hits on this song, like so many, or on this soundtrack. It's just like so many good songs.
like Tush, Love Hurts, Stranglehold,
I'm not
Cherry
a Ted
Bomb,
Nugent
The
fan, but
Runaways.
I do like that song.
Cherry Bomb. Actually, half the songs I just mentioned to you, I've actually stripped to.
Throw on Dazed and Confused and watch Jimmy go.
So the one that you're supposed to do for the TikTok, you can do one of them on the Wednesday and then the other one on the Thursday. You can strip to all of these ones.
Yeah, but you have to
That
send
sounds
me the list again because I can't remember. But it's just
Oh my
Thursday.
goodness. I'll do it
Thursday,
right
I
now.
can't. I might have to do a Friday because
Dude,
Thursday.
So
I-
Freaky
doesn't come out for a
Friday
month.
it is.
This doesn't come out for a
because
month.
I do a Jedi Jimmy podcast on Thursdays.
Number one.
Number one, we've made it to the top from everyone's votes over the last month. And I do want to take a moment to thank you to all of our listeners who did take the time to vote. There was over 100 votes. Over
That's
100.
amazing. That's awesome.
And we end up number one, the Empire Records soundtrack.
Yeah.
Did you guys see the movie?
I did. Yeah. I own the
Uh,
movie.
Rex
No.
Manning Day?
Yeah.
That's a hard no for me. I'm
You
sorry.
didn't see- It probably just didn't interest you, hey?
No.
Liv Tyler's in it.
It's a good movie. I loved this movie when I was younger. I still do.
There are songs on the soundtrack too that I knew from other things, like Gin Blossoms Till I Hear It From You.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
already from the radio. But I think the big one off this one was A Girl Like You, Edwyn Collins.
Yeah. That was a pretty big hit. This is like a very like when you listen to this one, it's very nostalgic of the mid 90s, that alternative, like indie folk kind of vibe is totally like what I think of when I think of like the 90s for me.
Oh yeah, lots of like the indie rock sound. Songs like A Girl Like You, of course, that kind of has like a real throwback
Yeah,
to it. Real 60s throwback to it.
totally.
If you've seen the movie, obviously it's revolved around the whole cast of characters who are employed at Empire Records, getting ready for Rex Manning Day.
Yeah.
I think that this one song on the soundtrack that I know and I'm a fan of is actually Liar by the Cranberries.
Oh, good. It's a short and sweet little tune, but it's a nice one.
Yeah.
But
There's
that,
some good bands though.
but the Cranberries, but that the big thing about that song, it showed how strong Dolores, right? Her voice was.
Mm.
She had
Yeah.
a very distinct and very strong voice.
Well, and that's also one of the ones that wasn't necessarily like one of the big ones that everybody knows. Like everybody knows Zombie, of course, and Linger.
Yeah, Salvation's a
this-
good one.
Yeah. Salvation's a great one.
But
I
if
almost
you
forgot about that.
play the song to someone who knows who she is, and but not the song, if you played it just at random, they'd be like,
Yeah.
"That's her."
She's very distinct. Yes. I would agree. I would say though that Empire Records for me was not one of my favorite movies. It's something I think it came out in 95. I think it's something that I could definitely watch again to see if it feels any different to me now, like almost 30 years later.
See,
I might
it was another one that was big for me and like my friends when that came out.
Yeah.
I might listen to it now to see if I would feel that now, with the fact that my look on music is different than it was back in 95. In 95 I was heavy into the Christian rock music, so
Hmm.
Petra and stuff like that. So I would listen to it, the whole soundtrack now, and see if I, with my feel for music being different,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Yeah. You've had more exposure now. You've had more time to, color
And
up your taste.
and they're not, but they're not new. They're not new now. It's
It's new to you. It's new to you. That's what I like about like listening to a lot of things that came out. And one of my favorite things is when I find a band that I like and I go into their back catalog and find more stuff I like because it's
It's
new to me.
it's honestly it's such a good way to go about things, because the thing is if it's a new person, you're kind of constantly waiting for the music to come out. But if you find somebody later and they've already put out 7 albums, you're like, I have so much to go through.
Yep.
That's what I did with Brandy Carlisle. I pretty much started from the newest and worked my way backwards.
100%. I mean, there's so many. I did that with like a band like Chicago, for instance, a couple years back. I heard a few Chicago songs I really like, and I love the Peter Cetera era too of Chicago. But I also love they're like two different bands. It's one band. Just how different their music was in different eras.
Mm-hmm.
So
but
I
it
was like, go
goes
back in the
like,
back catalog, and they're like a jazz like rock band.
It's
but
interesting to
horns
see
and
the
stuff.
evolution of how a band or an artist kind of evolves throughout the
but
years.
it's the same with a movie. It's like we're dealing with movie soundtracks. It's kind of the same with the movies, because like the first movie I actually remember watching of the Star Wars movies is Return of the Jedi.
Mm-hmm.
Because when it came out, I would have been 9.
Mm-hmm.
And I am the biggest Star Wars nerd that's a midget ever, other than the midgets that have been in, little people that have been in Star Wars movies. But it's kind of the same thing. You find one later on and you're like, oh, this is cool. Let's go see what they did before.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, oh, that's cool. Let's go a little bit further back. Oh, wow. Let's just wait a bit till they put out some more. It's the same thing, right?
Mm. I'm very happy with the list, and I think that it really speaks volumes of what our listeners liked. But also, are there songs, or sorry, I should say, actual soundtracks that you guys think should have made the cut that you can think of, or like ones that stand out from you from that era?
Oh geez.
I was thinking Robin Hood. Completely forgot to put Robin Hood on the fucking poll.
That one would have been a
but
definite classic.
but the thing with Robin Hood, Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, is where you're going at, because there was a number of Robin Hood movies.
Yeah, Prince of Thieves.
With Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, it's kind of around the same, like with Titanic, is they had a couple of hits that people knew, and the rest was the classical, the instrumental stuff. Like with that one, like Bryan Adams, I'd do anything for you.
Everything I do.
Everything
What I do for
do
you.
I know that was close. Sorry,
That's
I've
okay.
actually got a mouthful of wine left in this bottle.
Cheers. Oh, you need another drink.
No,
Okay.
I still got some.
Mm.
I think one of the ones that I think was like a pretty big one for me was the Batman Returns or Batman Forever, sorry.
Kiss from a
Batman,
Rose.
Kiss from a
a
Rose.
Rose. Yeah.
Okay,
The U2 song is great on that one. Yeah.
it's well known that I am not a U2 fan, but that is a great song and I really like. Hold Me, Thrill Me, Kiss Me, Kill Me.
Yeah.
I
It's
think
such a good song.
I love the orchestration in it, like the strings and stuff. I like it. I
Mhm.
dig that song a lot.
Yeah. That was a really great soundtrack as well.
You like that one, Jimmy?
That's a great soundtrack, and that song. Again, it's another one that to be from that movie, and you hear that song, Seal.
Mm-hmm. I figured it'd be good for us to go through like what else was on the list, because people also added in their input too.
Yeah.
Like, they added in some of their choices because there was an other category.
That's cool that people put their own like kind of spin
Mhm.
on it too.
Reality Bites. It was like barely made it. It was like number 11.
Oh, that was a pretty big one back then too, for sure.
Yeah. Boys in the Hood.
Oh yeah.
That was right on the cusp as well.
Was
Fantastic.
Trainspotting in there? That one.
One person chose Trainspotting.
Okay, because I'm like, I do remember that one being fairly.
It was huge. It was a big soundtrack. Iggy Pop is all I remember. Lust for Life.
But
sure that
one thing that didn't make the list, it's probably not within a lot of people's but one of my favorites of movie soundtracks from the 90s, Lion King. Elton John doing all.
Oh, going the Disney route. Yeah.
No
yeah.
kidding.
Like that's huge.
Lion King was massive.
There was a number of Elton John tunes, and
there would have been so many Disneys in the 90s. There would have been Beauty and the Beast.
Beauty and the Beast.
Aladdin.
Yeah, all the Disney stuff in the 90s was great.
Yeah, there was a lot of them that would have been on that list. Reservoir Dogs came in close too.
Like we could almost do a Disney 90s movie soundtrack.
We could.
Yeah.
So
totally could like rank the Disney movies.
Next year. Let's do it. Natural Born Killers singles. One of my personal favorites here, Poetic Justice with Janet Jackson and Tupac. I love that. Friday. The Craft.
Oh, The Craft. That was a great soundtrack. Actually, I loved that one.
Yeah, that's good.
Jewel had a really cool song on that one. Oh, what was it called? Jewel did, yeah.
Yeah.
And did you ever watch that show Charmed?
No, but I know of it.
Oh man, it was like a big one for me when I was like a kid. And one of the songs off of that one was the theme song for Charmed as well.
Ooh, what was it called?
Ah man, I just remember how it goes. I am the sun and the earth.
Okay, I'm sure one of our listeners could let us know.
Yeah, I'm like, I haven't listened to that in forever, but yeah.
Judgment Night. I can't remember what movie that was. Do you know, James?
Judgment Night. That was the one with what's his pickle?
Arnold?
No.
No, it's like Judgment Day or something.
Judgment Night. Judgment Night.
This is why I have a music podcast and not a movie podcast, because I'm sucking at movies.
Young Guns. Emilio
Estevez.
He's in Judgment Night.
Which reminds me, Young Guns 2 was just at the beginning of the 90s. And that's a huge important soundtrack, especially for Bon Jovi.
Was that at the beginning of the 90s?
It was 1990.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Young Guns 2.
one of my favorite soundtracks that's very late 90s, 1999 is 10 Things I Hate About You.
Mm-hmm.
Heath Ledger, Julia Stiles is in that movie. I loved that movie actually.
Yes, actually, like the soundtrack is pretty awesome too.
Yeah, they got a couple songs by Letters to Cleo on it.
Yeah, and I'm a fan.
Yeah, it's really really good.
So, but Anastasia was during that time, and that had Richard Marx and
Oh yeah, that was DreamWorks, right?
I think
Anastasia,
that
I
was
believe, was
DreamWorks. Yeah,
a DreamWorks production.
like Kelsey Grammer was a Richard Marx and Donna Lewis
Uh-huh.
at the beginning.
I love you always forever. Well, that's who Donna Lewis is, but
But that's on that. No, that's her. But no, with this,
we've watched this music video that you're talking about. I remember on Guilty Pleasures. It was your choice.
oh, at the beginning, yeah,
Should I tell our audience about Guilty Pleasures? Cats
Do
out of the
it.
bag.
sure.
Cats out of the bag. Yep.
We started this during the pandemic on Zoom when we were bored, where each of us take turns on YouTube picking our favorite guilty pleasure that we want to share with the group. It's a small group. It's basically the three of us, and then there's a few of our other friends that come in too from time to time. But like we just like play each other videos and of things we love, music wise, movie wise, whatever. So yes, Jimmy, I've definitely seen the Richard Marx and Donna Lewis. I was about to call her Leona.
But
Yeah.
also a big thing from that soundtrack also had some Aaliyah tunes.
Hmm.
I think it was that one.
We have Jurassic Park, Clerks, Dumb and Dumber, Tank Girl.
Tank Girl.
Journey from the Past had Aaliyah
Journey from the Past.
on that soundtrack from Anastasia.
Oh, okay.
Aaliyah, that was actually one of her earlier songs.
Oh, well, yeah, because Aaliyah's really took off in like late, like 1999 to like 2000, 2001.
Yeah, but like she passed
in September of 2001, I believe.
And it was at the peak of like where she was in a lot of soundtracks, like Romeo Must Die. She was in a movie about vampires, I think.
Oh yeah,
The
Damned. Wasn't that an Anne Rice?
Yeah. I'm pretty sure.
Was she? It was Queen of the Damned, right?
Yeah, that's the one it was.
Aladdin. Oh, we already talked about that. Dick Tracy. Cool World.
I don't see Dick Tracy as a
Madonna.
Oh, okay, never mind.
There was a lot of Madonna songs on there. Waiting to Exhale, more Whitney Houston. Someone wrote in. Here's some of the write-ins. Okay, we have Tales from the Crypt, Demon Night. Someone wrote in.
I haven't seen that.
Prince of Egypt.
Oh yeah,
amazing soundtrack.
Well, that's when Whitney and Mariah joined forces. Hackers.
Oh, Hackers! I love that movie. It actually had a great soundtrack.
Angelina Jolie is like early in her career in that movie.
Yes, I loved her growing up. Before my gay little heart knew it was gay. That's pretty much.
Mortal Kombat.
Oh yes.
Oh, I do. Oh, I work out to that one.
Pump Up the Volume.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I remember that. Christian Slater.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure.
Oh, 100%.
Oh man, that's got Extreme. Play with me on it.
Play with me.
Hell yeah. And then which we mentioned earlier, Train Spotting. And the last two that were write-ins were Forrest Gump. That is very important soundtrack. It's similar to which one was it?
But I don't know the songs on the soundtrack for that.
It's kind of similar to Empire Records that way, where it just took a bunch of oldies mostly. There wasn't anything really new recorded for it, as far as I'm aware.
It just did a collection of songs.
Yeah, Forrest Gump was kind of like that. And then, okay, one scene in Forrest Gump always makes me think of it's a song. There's something happening here. What it is
Oh.
ain't exactly clear. And they're like, it's like when they're in the jungle and they're in Vietnam and they're at war.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Oh, there's a lot of great songs on that soundtrack. There's the Four Tops, I Can't Help Myself, CCR, Fortunate Son.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, one of my favorite CCR songs.
Hound Dog by Elvis.
The last action hero was the last one.
Oh, okay, yeah.
The only song I remember from that one was Def Leppard. I think it was Two Steps Behind.
You know what? I do remember the name of that movie, and I do think I seen it, but I don't remember much about it.
Yeah, I barely remember it. I know it's Schwarzenegger.
Yeah.
And a kid.
Schwarzenegger.
10-minute
kid.
warning.
Yeah. I'm glad that we got this done. Is there anything either of you want to add?
Thanks for having me on the show again. I loved being a part of this one because like I love movies. Like I said, I worked at a movie theater for 7 years, so it's cool to kind of recap all of the music, and it totally made me want to go and like actually watch all of these movies again.
Yeah. Especially if you hadn't seen them in 20 plus years.
Oh yeah, there's some I'm for sure gonna watch. I have a foot surgery coming up right away. I'm gonna have some time off. I'm gonna be watching some of these movies.
And the funny thing about a movie soundtrack is, especially if the song is played throughout the movie, you actually feel the scene when the movie's or when the song's playing. You know what I mean? Because there's sometimes like at work, and I'm like, hey, this song is during so and so is beating the hell out of so and so in this movie or whatever. Like it reminds you of the movie, or even what happened in the movie without even trying.
Yeah.
I think it just showcases how important music is for a movie, and to create that vibe and that narrative to give you that feeling to kind of always remember it, aside from the acting and the storytelling, like music is a big part of it.
I agree.
Because the thing is, though, is we're as humans, we remember what we see, but we remember what we feel. We also remember what we hear. So if you're seeing something that's awesome and you're hearing something, it reminds you of what you saw that was awesome. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, we relate music and things we hear to our memories.
Like,
absolutely. Like I remember times of my life where if I was listening to a certain artist's album a lot in that time frame, when I put that album on, it takes me right back to memories from back in that time of when I used to listen to it, like the first time I started listening to it.
like
And it's kind of cool, that
it's
nostalgic factor.
even family moments where you're hearing a certain part of a song and you can hear back 35 years ago when while you're listening to the song, your brother's kicking on your room door. I remember that, and that was actually from the song America towards the end, Neil Diamond, but that's a little outside of this. But
I love how you guys wrapped that up and summarized it. It was absolutely brilliant. Thank you. Yeah, it was perfect. Right. Yeah, thanks to everybody, for you two for being here, and for everybody that voted. We'll do another poll in the future, and I hope you guys get all involved because it's been fun. I liked it.
And if we missed anything, you guys should call the number and call in and give us your opinions.
780-851-87. Wait. 85.
Oh wow. Okay, Darth Vader.
Okay. 780-851-8785. There.
Hey kids, put down that Tamagotchi and listen for a second. You can follow us on Twitter at NostalgiaDope, Instagram at Dope dope_nostalgia. Visit our website at www.dopenostalgia.com or pick up the phone and call us at 780-851-8785.
This podcast is licensed by SOCAN because we believe that artists should be paid for their work.